Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister.
Hi, and welcome back to Hi Lazaretto. You're here with your hosts. I'm the gentleman.
And now I'm Papa Smoke in the building.
And so if you guys have listened to some of the previous podcasts, you know that the point of this podcast at the moment is that we watch one of the films that are listed in the top 100 most influential films of all time, according to Total Film. Last episode, we decided to watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon,
Yes.
which I'd never seen before, but had heard many things
And
about.
I'd seen it like quite a while ago, but I remember it being for what it was. I remember it, like the film, when I was watching it, everything came back to us, you know what I mean? It was...
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about, what I try to do. So at the end of every episode, we pick 3 films, and the other person has to pick one. But last episode, I purposely picked 3 films that were all foreign.
You picked some interesting ones that I got like a little... I still do want to watch it about 2 films that you picked out.
Yeah.
Japanese, like the first...
Rashomon, Rashomon, that was pretty good. There was a French one as well that was pretty big. But, foreign cinema. Do you have a favourite foreign film?
Ooh, it's got to be like early Bruce Lee, I think.
Yeah.
Like, is it, you're saying like sticking to like the Far East like this, or just general foreign film anyway?
It could be a general foreign film, but
Ooh,
Far East. I think it's quite interesting. I guess the first thing I'll say is that I find a different country's cinema and its history of cinema just says so much about the country itself. And I'm very much someone that makes films that have like teachings and have, they promote discussion and conversation and insight to life that you might not necessarily know as you're watching it in the cinema.
Yes.
And so what I find quite interesting about foreign cinema is that you can watch a collection of films from China, from South Korea, and it really kind of helps you build up this picture of, how that, the kind of this landscape of that country in many ways. So with China, and not so much with this film, but what I've always been quite interested in Chinese cinema is that China has obviously had a very big thing to do with communism.
Yes.
And the kind of changing forces of how the country is run. And so Chinese cinema is only like 10-15 years behind British and American cinema, in the sense that it was introduced to Chinese cinema like 1895, so about 10 years-ish after we did. But they even had a golden era of cinema, which was this cinema that was, promoting, the communism. And I found that quite interesting.
Yeah.
If you go ahead and watch, historic films in a certain country, you begin to understand the landscape of how they've changed over time.
Well, I do enjoy Chinese cinema, to be honest. Like, I am a fan of these kind of films. The whole over-the-top martial arts, hero of the land, like a destined warrior coming in to fight.
They're 100%
fight
Aaron.
off 100 guys.
Yeah, 100% Aaron cinema.
Someone gets a nunchucks out, boom, 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 boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
Death Stars flying left, right, and centre. I'm all about it. I'm all about the action. I'm all about the big choreographed fight. But perfect in this film. The choreographed fight scenes, man. Beautiful.
I
Just seeing a guy kick 10 people's asses floating around buildings and that. You can't beat it.
It's definitely dad's cinema.
Yeah.
My dad used to go on
100%.
about this film, and he used to talk about... So I proper loved Jackie Chan when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And now I know that a lot of people think Jackie Chan's definitely more Western than the likes of like Bruce Lee, which you love.
Yeah, I love Bruce Lee. I mean, I love Jackie Chan films as well. Love them. I was going to mention a few of them, like Who Am I?
Yes, that's my favourite. Yeah.
Oh, Who Am I is your favourite? What a great film.
Who Am I is my favourite Jackie Chan
I love that bit
film.
when he parks a car and he does the fucking and he parks a car and all the cars like come by and does that J turn.
And it's all to do with the stunts really as well.
Yeah, well that's what it's all like. I think that's what they do amazing. Like when you're saying about Far Eastern cinema, they do a great way of like the choreographed fighting. It's like almost like a dance. Even if you didn't watch it as like a film, you could appreciate it. It's just like the way they do it. You would just appreciate the art of how they fight and the choreographed moves and the weaponry skills. Even if, like we were saying in this film, we didn't really enjoy the story that much. Yeah, but we did really, really enjoy the choreographed fight scenes, the whole wire tricks. It was all the big cinema way, and like not so much you're pushing forward like acting or a great story. You're just dazzling them with like a performance, almost like a circus. Yeah, you'd say you kind of just they put on a great performance to watch moves like this, the wire stunts and the martial arts.
Yeah.
And then they present it well, you know what I mean? And then maybe sometimes story lacks a bit and acting isn't so great or dubbed things.
Yeah, well, when we first tried to watch the film, we watched the dub version first.
About half of it, and we're just like, it's bad.
Yeah, so we end up paying for the original version, the subtitle version, which it was immensely better. I feel like at that point as well, in that time, it was like the common thing that if you had a foreign film, you would just dub the voices over, but the lips don't sync up. And what was even weirder is that the main character was actually
speaking
English, but because it was dubbed afterwards, he was still out of sync, and it just felt so strange. And it was really the first half of the film that we watched that really brought it down for me. It was really hard to get to grips with that, although I knew it was a product of its time. But we watched the subtitle version, which I enjoyed a lot more.
More back into it.
Yeah, you understood a lot more as well. The story, it wasn't like this amazing, fantastic story.
Well, like it's all usually all set kind of the same story, like a destined warrior.
Yeah.
This is over a blade called the Green Destiny. He's like this warrior that's like best legends told about him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then he's trying to give away that lifestyle in the form of this famous legendary sword that he's won all these battles with. That's been passed down for generations and generations. And him having a student, trying to get a student for that female character.
That was the part of the story that interested me the most was this relationship between the master and this this female antagonist who we wanted to bring to the right side and train her properly. It was the fight scenes all the way were the bits that kind of stuck out for me, the bits that I wanted to watch. There was certain moments in it where because it's all they're on suspended, on ropes and stuff, and they're doing all these different moves, and you have to have an element of suspension of disbelief in a sense, because the way they move on when they're running across the roofs, you can kind of tell that they do have ropes because of the way.
Oh yeah, how tippy tappy they're just literally. When you look at them, my legs are just flippy floppy. The tip tap on the roof. They don't ever touch them. They're just kind of like a little birdie would tap on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The gravity of it.
It's just because obviously I feel like it's the most well done out of them, this film. So that's probably why it maybe, but it's probably very hard to do. That.
No, 100%. I mean, that's what's so admirable for it, and that's why it's so influential. So the what they say in the Total Film magazine is. Its Best Foreign Film Oscar was claimed by Ang Lee's Native Taiwan, but this co-production between Chinese, Taiwanese and American companies was purpose-built for Western audiences with its mix of art house sensibilities and a wuxia martial arts. Stunts were performed by the cast, with the CG only used to paint out the wireworks, and Lee didn't take one break in 8 months. I thought I was about to have a stroke. It was worth it. A critically acclaimed hit screen, dubbed and subtitled. It opened the floodgates for Eastern epics, which is, that to me is what it's all about. So there's a suspension of disbelief. I very much was watching it the same way as if I was watching the original Dragon Ball TV show, where there's no ki blasts and magic powers, but everyone has this amazing skill set. And when you look at the scene in which they're on top of the trees, that to me is really when I started getting into the choreograph and believed it a lot better. But what it's most important for is the fact that it made a gateway over to the Western world. I mean, you were saying, what was the big thing that kind of brought into the, what Eastern cinema actually brought into the West?
Well, originally, I was having a little bit of a look, and I would say it came with the influence of Bruce Lee films.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In the 70s. I think his earliest American film that he made an appearance was 69.
Yeah.
1969, I had a look, and I can't remember the title of it, but he played a supporting role, it was a crime detective kind of thing.
Yeah.
And but then he obviously when he first came into the scene, he was actually his first ever influence was he was doing demonstrations at a dojo, and it's when you see the footage of him doing the 1-inch punch and stuff, and that captured an audience in the sense of it was an American exhibition that got a lot of Americans talking and they got interested in it, and then he got obviously film roles from that.
Yeah.
And obviously then Enter the Dragon, which is one of my favourites.
We watched that not that long ago as well. You showed me that film, and I loved that film. That was really cool.
The Way of the Dragon. same good one. Fists of Fury, that's another great.
Yeah.
They're all in the same like couple of years, I think. He obviously started getting big when he did like the Green Hornet. That was his thing on the TV.
Yeah.
And then he got the Green Hornet movie, and I think that's the flux, like the first flux of like Eastern American cinema.
Yeah.
That whole slash between the
It's interesting because you can very much so it's saying there that this film, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, was designed to appeal to the Western world, and you can kind of tell that because I found it really interesting that what kind of really, you know, there has been films before Bruce Lee, but what really broke into like a household name, everyone talking about it, was Bruce Lee films, and it's almost like because of the martial arts is why the Western world just wanted action, mindless action.
Well, that's what you get in this. You get a great fold of like its strongest suits, or the fact that it has amazing fight choreography.
Yeah,
like unbelievable. Some of the best I've seen in cinema. When I was looking at it, I rarely seem to think of better that style of fight scenes that I've ever seen in any other films.
Well, that's why I always enjoyed Jackie Chan's, because his was very similar, but he had a comedic element.
He was like drunken monkey one. He would be like his was good because it felt a bit more real. I feel because you were like he kind of does people in, but he gets done in a lot as well. And he's all sloppy, like falls over, he trips and hits a guy and. Like backflips out of a window and like manages to land it somehow.
He has this thing where he likes using objects around him as well, so and it just brings this like comedy element, which
like
is why a lot of his
chair or something, flying like a broomstick into him. I know what you mean. But anyways, that's what I felt. It's the fight choreography and the scale that you get. Like they really make a lot of effort into making it feel like an ancient China.
Yeah,
like the scale, the sets. The locations were great. Whoever location on that must have been top dollar.
Absolutely, my favourite shots were of the kind of the landscape of China, and it just it taught me so much watching this film because, and this is going to sound awful, but I didn't realise there was a Chinese desert.
That's literally I was the same. I was like, my geography's terrible.
Yeah,
but it's depicted such a wide. And we even said, is there not a desert in China?
It is, and there's a desert northern China to Mongolia. And that to me was quite interesting. A small little inkling of the story that I like was, of course, the relationship between the female lead and the Mongolian guy, because it did play quite along with this idea that there's this tension between ancient China and Mongolia, and of course all that was set in the desert as well. So it all kind of checks out really from my knowledge, which I thought
for all
was
it being quite over the top. Martial arts, people flying about, walking on water, very inaccurate.
Yeah.
It stays it does true to ancient China, is the landscape and the struggles between obviously the Mongolians and the Chinese ancient times and throughout for quite a while.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, some of the people on that film as well have gone to do some great things. Some have went to do not so great things. So the person in charge of fight choreography was also the person that did the Matrix trilogy. And he very much pioneers
there you go.
the way in which...
They're one of the others, you could say, is one of the best kind of fight scenes in all of cinema.
It's great, isn't it? Because you're watching that and you can very much see that this film has had an influence, because there's so many Western films, like the likes of John Wick and stuff, that wouldn't exist without this film. And that's really nice to see. Other things that aren't so well is obviously our male lead in the film. Fantastic. We were saying what was the biggest thing he'd done was Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah,
he's been in that.
Chung Yu
Fat. Yeah, that's right. Of course, more noticeably these days, he did the live-action version of Dragon Ball, which is so strange because Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon opened up the floodgates for more Eastern film to come over to the West, but the Dragon Ball film closing that gate, and that's what's so interesting. Why do you think that is? There's so many films from the. What I'm finding is that films from the East that come over do it really well, but when the West try to make Eastern films, it does not work. So particularly when you're looking at anime, and you've got the likes of the Dragon Ball film or Ghost in the Shell with...
Probably because, like you say, they're all just about the action, so they kind of just focus on that to an extent. I know, like, the cinema do that, but like you say, they pay attention... well, to like how we're seeing in this film, they still set a very believable world. as in there's unbelievable things happening in it.
I mean, that pressure point thing that
Yeah,
he does just
but exactly.
mental.
That's
Yeah.
just like there's stupid stuff like that where you're like, how where?
Yeah.
But they put it in a world which is very beautiful,
Mhm.
and they do it well, and they put a lot of effort into making it that world believable. Saying that, why is there no reason back then that couldn't have been the case? There's no
Yeah.
true evidence, and it's not. But
Yeah.
there's no true evidence to say there wasn't warriors fucking jumping about on rafters, killing each other like that.
So Papa Smoke went through the entire film going, this is how people fought back in the day. This
Possibly.
thought it was a documentary the entire time.
I mean, I was so high. I possibly could have.
Yeah, it's no look. I mean, one of the best parts that I
That-
feel
that
that
is-
foreign films do is that, you know, you're looking at what they're doing right now. Look at Parasite, winning an Oscar.
Yeah,
and
I
it
mean-
apparently deserves it so much.
Everyone I've heard that's seen that film.
yeah,
Or give it a review.
we're gonna make a review of that film when we watch it. I haven't watched it, and I don't really have a good excuse not to have watched it. I just didn't follow the Oscars a lot this year.
Yeah.
Because I generally did think that it was just going to be one of the, because there was so many Titanic directors in there
Yeah.
that I thought it was going to be one of them. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And of course, the cinemas are now closed, so it's not like I can go and watch it anyways. But yeah, what I did love about it, what I do love about Chinese cinema, they do this so well, is the depiction of women and the way women work in the film. The
They
female
do,
characters in here were absolutely fantastic.
They were?
They were so cool. You know, I mean, I would be terrified to meet them for a start. They could kick my ass any day, like very
Aye.
easily. And there's just a lot of, the way in which they work and a lot of power play, which I quite like. And it makes such a difference because you look at other, we're very bad for it, the Western world's very bad for it. I find that Japan is quite bad for female representation, especially when you're looking at things like anime, when you have a character that's literally designed there to be this kind of sex bait. So if anyone that's familiar, the character Bulma in Dragon Ball is essentially just meant to be, sex bait in a way. And I just feel
Yeah, I know it is
Yeah,
pretty creepy. That it's like still used kind of as like an object in that way.
yeah.
Well, I
But
meant
for
like
me,
that.
from what I've seen from Chinese cinema, and it probably does have its flaws, but from the films that I have seen, its depiction of women have been very, very good. My finally talking about it, my favourite foreign film, and it's a film I'd recommend to anyone, is called Fortress. And I went
Yes,
to
you
watch
said
that.
you wanted we to watch that together. I'm interested in you saying it. It's kind of similar, isn't it? Isn't it Mongolians?
Yeah, it's based off true events, which is why I loved it so much. It was so well shot. And it's this fortress that still exists in northern China.
Yeah,
and it's
that's what I
about
say,
the final
Mongolians
days.
fight the Chinese, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
the
The
final
fortress.
days of this kingdom that was going to be taken over by the Mongolians, and they basically had a siege and they tried to keep themselves in. But there's a lot to do with how the politics work with the emperor and everything else like that. And it's just, I went to watch it in Kameramage in Poland a couple of years back, and it actually won the Golden Frog Award. So it beat all the big films,
you
like
were
the
telling
favorite.
us at the time, right? I remember.
Yeah, it beat all the big hitting films that year for best cinematography. It was
So it's
fantastic.
a beautiful looking film. Same. Well, like that's what we're saying, isn't it? It's they've paid attention to like.
Mhm,
Obviously,
yeah.
it must depict a very real and very believable world of a Mongolian Chinese border or
Yeah.
fortress, or
Of course, yeah.
that's what I mean. They pay a lot of attention. I feel they are very proud, like a very proud cinema. Like they're very proud in that. Whoever like Eastern,
Yeah, I mean, they have such vast
very
history,
proud
don't
in
they?
their own history and their own
Yeah,
country. It's good to see because they put a lot of effort into making you kind of understand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Their history and their culture. And
absolutely. I feel that if anything's happened from this film, it's just going to make me watch more Chinese cinema. I am now very interested in watching a lot more of the foreign films on this list.
I might have one for you.
Oh, well, firstly, let's finally round it up. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. What would you rate that out of 10?
Now, I do enjoy it, but it's not like you say. It's got its flaws. It's
Yeah.
got a few flaws. It's got enough flaws where it weighs out enough pros and cons.
Mhm.
They're both the same,
Yeah.
both number. But I've got to say 5.5.
Yeah, I was going to say about a 5.5. So let's say 5.5. That sounds good. It's, again, for what it's done influential, we can see it. It's fantastic. But there's other Chinese films that I like more for being able to cross across the globe in with a different message and a different form of filmmaking. So it's not just the action, but of course the action for this is fantastic. The characters are very interesting, but the story to me was not at its best, and it hasn't aged its best as well. So I definitely say 5.5 for Crouched Tiger.
Yeah,
Hidden
definitely
Dragon.
believable world, very well done, not bad cinematography, very nice landscape views and everything else like that. Great fight choreography, great stunts, but a lacking story, and
Yeah, it's like a lackluster
some
story. Isn't it?
underwhelming happening as well at certain points.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I guess we're now on to the final part, which is the 3 films. This book is obviously the main premise of this podcast, and it's so ruined already. All the corners are already torn off.
We've mistreated it, like.
Yeah, 100%. So, Howard, then, laying on, I'm excited.
Right. So first, we have the most influential film. Number 1, Silence of the Lambs.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
I was thinking, switch it up, get like a thriller in.
Yeah.
I went back to one of yours that you were interested in, Dr. No.
Dr. No, yeah.
Classic James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
And then this one is a bit of a weird one. It's called Bloodfest.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, it's an Australian horror, but the story's about an Egyptian caterer that's also a cannibal.
What year was that released then?
That was in 1963.
1963.
And
Wow.
it's the first of its time with no other like just gory films, like a gore film like Saw or something like that. Something that makes you ugh. And it's because it's influential because the first film they used sheep organs as like human organs, so like actual
Oh wow.
organs and like
So
meat
definitely
and like prop,
influenced horror cinema. Definitely.
yeah, like gory, make it it's kind of.
But I think I've got what I'd like to have a look at, and I think there's a lot for us to talk about in it. I want to say, Dr. No.
Hot damn!
I'm interested because, like I said in the previous podcast, I've watched the Daniel Craig James Bonds. I've never seen anything before him, and Dr. No, of course, is influential, and it's quite high up on the list. So I'd very much like to watch not only where's it all started, but where a lot of the issues which people are talking about in regards to James Bond now, where they've kind of stemmed from as well, and also just be nice to get geared up and ready for the new James Bond film to eventually come out.
Get you into like that kind of mood, and that's a good idea.
100%.
That's why I'm happy.
Yes.
I'm very happy that I love James Bond.
It's dad cinema, that's why.
Awesome.
Dad film. Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been perfect. Once again, this is High Lazzarato. I am the gentleman.
And I'm Papa Smoke. And
bye, driver.
%60 of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.